Hello, folks, and welcome back. I'm joined here with Lizelle Fisher. My name is Bob Good, and today our topic is going to be marriage and the newborn child, the newborn baby in the family. So, walk me through, Lizelle, when a spouse, a partner is pregnant, what are some of the factors that need to be considered?
Is one spouse going to stay at home with the baby after the baby arrives? Is there going to be a babysitter? Is a family member going to help? Just who's going to be there to take care of the baby after it arrives? Also, work. Who's going to work and who's going to be the main income supporter during that time? What's the sleep going to be like? Babies get up every 2 hours, and who's going to handle the feeding? If the mother is nursing, will she pump a bottle so then the husband can wake up also and help feed the baby? Is there going to be co-sleeping? Is the baby going to sleep in a crib in their room? Definitely some important things to discuss with your spouse, so then you guys are on the same page when the baby arrives.
Exactly. All right, and certainly it can be a stressful event too. So it's very important that couples make time for one another during the pregnancy. How important do you think, Lizelle, spending time together as a couple plays a role in the healthiness of that relationship?
It's very important. A lot of women suffer from postpartum depression after the baby is born. It can be, hormonal. It can be your body not coping with the new baby right now. It can be a lot of factors. And really, when you have your spouse there as your support system and who understands, and you guys are on the same page and you've talked about things, it really decreases the severity of the postpartum. Dr. John Gottman had said spending 5 to 10 minutes with your spouse, just rubbing their hands or massaging their arms or their back or their shoulders also decreases postpartum depression as well. And in fact, he talked about that men also have depression after a baby's born. It could be just the loss of time with their spouse. And so when a husband and wife can make time for each other, even just giving that 5 to 10 minute massage to each other, it decreases the depression that could occur.
And it's certainly real, because we hear and we know of people that the woman experiences some type of postpartum depression. So those are good words of advice there, because in many times people don't have any plan as to how to develop the relationship while the woman is pregnant. And I think that's so very important that a couple understand that there are some things that they can learn to do during that particular pregnancy. So what would you say would be some pitfalls to try to avoid during the pregnancy of their partner?
During the pregnancy?
During the pregnancy,
yeah. There's... being pregnant is difficult in itself. The woman is growing a little baby human, and it carries a lot of, she may need to eat, she may cry, she may be upset, and just being able to have the spouse. A lot of times the men are just like, whoa, what's happening? Oh my gosh, she's, yelling at me all the time, or she's crying all the time. Also, sex is a really big deal, whether it decreases the frequency or it increases, and just being able to talk about those as they come. Because when bringing in a baby for the first time, this is new to the husband and the wife, completely new. So as long as that communication is open, hey, I notice you're crying all the time. Like, what's going on? Like, what can I do? or you're upset with me. What can I do to help you? Just being able to create that openness to talk about it.
Good. There's that awareness of what the person is going through, and I think that's a key point to make, and that is that we have to be sensitive to what might be going on inside of our partner. We are not a mind reader, but we need to have that curiosity to ask, to inquire. So that's important. Okay, so now walk me through. The pregnancy was successful. Now the newborn child is present in the home. The relationship is not only me and she, or she and him. Now it's an us. Mm-hmm. So what are some thoughts with regard to how to handle the introduction of the child? What would be some steps to work through there?
Mm-hmm. So, having a brand new baby in the home is going to change everything. It's going to change bedtime. It's going to change quiet time. It's going to change when and what you eat for dinner, really. And just being able to understand that and know where you can help. Okay, if at first you need to have family or friends help bring meals, by all means be okay asking for help, and and the time together. Mm-hmm. Talk about that once the baby arrives. Talk about it before the baby arrives, and just know that the time together is going to decrease greatly. And how can you make that time together? Okay, once the baby goes to sleep, whether or not the other spouse comes home at a decent time or late, when are you going to make time to just take 10-15 minutes together? Mm-hmm. Because whoever is at home with that baby is really going to need that time as well to connect with their spouse, to just feel human again, and to have that adult conversation. Also, a big thing too is sex, and just understanding that once that baby is here, it may not happen as often, and just knowing, hey, I understand. Let's talk about this in 3 months. I know that you may not be comfortable in doing this. Dr. John Gottman again said that a lot of times a woman's sex drive doesn't come back for a year later. Mm-hmm. And so just being able to understand that and communicate that, so then the woman doesn't feel upset or ashamed about it, or feel like there's something wrong, and just knowing, like, in her time when she's ready, because if there's that understanding, it might happen sooner for you. So just being there and being a support system for her.
That's good. One of my friends in the mental health field said that he uses a numerical system, so that, for example, if the man is wanting to have some type of sexual relations with his partner, that he tells her that he's at a 8 or a 9 or a 10 or whatever the number is, 1 through 10, 10 being the most intense for that person, to let the other partner know, not in a guilt way, but to try to have this honesty and openness going on between the two of them of where they are sexually on a particular day, so it doesn't cause disappointment and frustration in the relationship, much less you don't want your partner to have to be guilted into having sexual relationships if your heart and your soul is not in it. So I think it's important, like you said, to have that honesty and openness within the relationship, and not have the sexual desires become a wedge between the partners in that relationship there. So very important. Okay, so walk me through them. What are some ways, if depression starts to take place, the postpartum depression is happening, what would be some ways to try to decrease that depression? What do you think about that? Checking
in, if you see that your spouse is just feeling down or sad or crying, checking in and just saying, you know what, I'm going to take the baby, whether the baby is nursed or formula, get a bottle. Have a family member or a spouse or the spouse, take the baby for an hour or two and just let the mom nap, shower, maybe go shopping for a minute, go have lunch with a friend, just allowing her that time to take a break. And, like I said, just physical connection, massage your hand, massage your feet, massage your shoulders or back, just for 5 or 10 minutes. And, all those things, just being aware that, aware and paying attention that, oh, she's down, she's not happy, she's crying, the baby's crying all the time, nobody's sleeping. So the more aware, you can be for each other.
That's good. That's very good. And I think that's the key is to make sure, what would it be like if I were in that particular person's shoes, where I can help them and be able to make life more comfortable for them. I think that's important to try to decrease the depression. And I think also to get out and to experience life and away from the home, away from the crib, so that the parents can get resuscitated themselves rather than getting so enveloped within the raising and the nurturing of the child at that particular time. I think sometimes getting away would help. Do you think that's true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it allows them to get fresh air, even together, get grandma or, somebody to come and just watch the baby for a little bit and take a date night, just dinner, even if it's dinner or a movie, just for a couple hours to reconnect.
Yeah, I think you're so right on that. I can't stress that couples that I talk to have a tendency to put their emphasis upon the child or the children, and they lose a sense of themselves when they are putting too much time and effort into the child. So I think there has to be a healthy balance. But what happens, though, Lizelle, if the couple doesn't have a family support system to be able to watch the child so they can have a date night? What would be some alternative ideas there?
Definitely. Because that is a real issue, not having the family or support, or even if you're new to town and you don't have a lot of friends, or maybe you're not and you have church people or like a support group or somebody that that can watch the baby for a little bit. If there is no help, just making time, like, let the baby go to sleep. Once the baby goes to sleep, the baby will sleep for hopefully an hour, even 2 hours. Order in pizza, order in Chinese, just light a candle, have a dinner, just some quiet, you two at home, even if there is no babysitter. Draw a bath for the other person, just something to create that peace, even if you don't have a babysitter.
That's good. That's good. In other words, prioritize the relationship in a creative way to help the partner be able to decompress and be able to re-engage with you, I think is so very important. There's a lot of ideas that couples can implement with regard to spending time with one another, even if there's no support system in place. And I think the point is that we need to be creative. And sometimes I find with my couples it's a good idea to write down some ideas on a calendar and strategize making that date night or making that opportunity with each other to happen, instead of letting life begin to cascade over their time with each other. So I think it's really important to recognize how significant time with one another is to nurture and to draw the relationship closer to one another. Any other factors to consider, Lizelle, with regard to handling that newborn baby into the relationship?
Yes. When, with a new baby comes a different kind of conflict. And it's very important to try not to yell with the baby around. The baby can sense that tension, and it really affects them. And when you're playing with the baby, babies love it when you make silly faces at them. So when they are seeing the tension between mom and dad, they take that in and they become like somber themselves, and depending on the level of intensity of the conflicts in the home, it can really affect the baby's development. So just keep that in mind as far as how when to talk about intense topics away from the baby. Once the baby goes to sleep, take it to another room. Try to keep the volume appropriately, and then just making time, like when it happens, being sure that somebody is holding the baby and just showing them comfort, even in the middle of the conflict, and not having the baby like aside and awake and in the other, in a crib while there's yelling going on. Just, that baby is really going to need the comfort, even in the midst of the conflict between the couple. Talking about it. If we can diffuse the conflicts and discuss, things that could be issues prior to being pregnant, prior to having the baby, and even after having the baby, hey, I'm not getting a lot of sleep. Hey, I don't feel like you're helping me a lot. Hey, I don't really want to tell you I need the dishes done. Just a lot of those things can be frustrating. So if even for the short time you need to hire a maid, you need to have mom or grandma or somebody come in and help, just kind of planning those things ahead of time can really diffuse the conflicts in the future, and just knowing like, hey, my partner is by my side and in there to help me, do this.
Excellent. Good ideas. Certainly bringing a child into the world is such a beautiful thing, but it also is important to be able for the parents to articulate what their expectations are and how they're going to nurture their relationship while that child is being raised by them. And so I think it's very important that couples understand some of the guidelines that we've articulated. Well, thank you so much, Lizelle. I appreciate everybody, and thank you for joining us, and we will see you back next time. Have a wonderful day.
It really lets that spouse know, oh, you still care. Oh, like, I love you, I missed you. Just checking in is super healthy.
It sure is.
Even if you have to set an alarm or a calendar for it, always make time for it.
Well, there you go, folks. Great ideas for the topic today on premarital. Hope this helps you all. Stay tuned for more to come. We thank you for visiting with us today. Take care. So in terms of the communication part, now what about me being a listener? You're my partner, and I'm talking, you're talking to me, rather. How should I be listening in a way that would be conducive or helpful to the conflict process? What are some ideas of how to be a better listener?
So when your spouse takes a break in what they're saying, so let's say your spouse said, when you made that decision the other day, it made me not feel like we were partners in this. So that person states their concern. Okay. Then you, as a listener, can say, okay, what I heard you say is that you did not feel that we were partners, that I was considering you as my partner. Repeating what you heard your spouse says validates your partner. Okay, so rephrasing, restating what I hear you saying, type of thing. Yes. Okay. Yes. One that I might want to interject is the opportunity to show understanding. Understanding, code word is the word curiosity. Help me understand, as I'm listening to you, more about what you're saying, what you're feeling. So I'm going to be asking more questions to you. So restating and understanding. What's a third one of how to be a better listener? Stating and restating, understanding. What else should I be doing as a listener when I'm listening to you as my partner? I'm thinking rephrasing. I'm also thinking of something called empathy. Empathy is different than sympathy. Sympathy says, well, at least you were able to blankety blank. But when I'm showing empathy to you, I am climbing into the water with you to try to understand from your perspective, from your eyes, how that must feel. That's a skill to be learned, and sometimes
men have a tendency, and even women have a tendency, to dismiss and discount what the other person is feeling. Right, wrong, or indifferent, empathy says, I need to sit with you and really understand what would it be like if I were you. So I'm thinking empathy should be another one as well in the listening process.
Definitely.
So there you go with the restatement of what I hear you saying sounds to me like, the understanding. I'm going to be more curious in terms of what you're having to say. I want to know more. And then number 3 is maybe I need to probably show empathy to you to understand what your feelings are like as if I were you. Good listening skills require us to really take a back seat and allow the other person to have the microphone to talk about what their feelings and thoughts are, even if I may disagree with what you have to say. Mm-hmm. Good. So the end result then, after we go through this process, should look like what in the conflict? What would you say is the final package or the final aspect of what a couple should be experiencing when they work through the tools of these conflict resolution tools? What would you say that would look like?
Yes. Well, a lot of times in the end, the end result is what we hope to see is that they have learned to be more respectful to each other. The volume of the argument has gone down.
Okay.
Maybe setting aside time to talk about the issues.
Okay.
If the issue gets heated, knowing when to take that break and being able to practice with each other on how to, okay, I heard you say this. This is how I feel. And really cutting out the you and the names and the walking away and leaving the person. So in the end, just it would really be a closer emotional communication, time to communicate about concerns, because even when we have issues in our marriage, that can really bring us closer together.
Good point. So it's okay to disagree. Mm-hmm. Disagreeing is really important to recognize that that's an opportunity to grow as a couple. So I like that. I really do. So folks, I hope that helps you today in understanding that conflict resolution is inevitable. And we're going to have differences of opinions because of different personalities in that relationship. But there are some do's and don'ts in terms of how to work through conflict. We appreciate the fact that this partner has their opinions and thoughts, but sometimes we are overriding their thoughts and opinions because we think we need to interject our voice, our thoughts, our principles, and our ideas. And sometimes that can feel suffocating in a relationship. So I think those are really important tools, and I really appreciate you folks listening to us, and come back next time as we'll talk about counseling and relationships.